Good morning, my friends. Today's Thanksgiving Day. I just awoke and had my coffee, and I was sitting here pondering the difference in how I see Thanksgiving Day than the way I used to when I was still asleep. There's a lot of conflict once you awaken and find out how history has been rewritten to make our ancestors look good instead of telling the truth. Remembering when I was a child in grammar school, being taught about the feast that took place between the pilgrims and the indigenous people and the celebration of the joining together. I remember being taught that in grammar school. I always loved this holiday because it was about giving thanks and gratitude, which is something that I try to do regularly throughout my life. I feel a deep sense of gratitude for being alive and for every little blessing I have. I've felt that way since I was a child. But now that I know what the true history was, looking at all of the holidays of the year, including this one, has changed everything. And I thought about this a year ago. I thought perhaps I need to stop celebrating them because my heart is not in the supposed original meaning. And now I know the cruelty behind many of our holidays, or the deception. And then I realized that most of the holidays have taken on different meaning for us over the years, and are rare times that families actually gather in this busy life, spend time together. For example, I didn't have any intention at all or any desire to celebrate the 4th of July this year because quite obviously our independence is not real, not a current thing. So I didn't celebrate it. I stayed away from the barbecues and the fireworks, and I don't celebrate Easter any longer because although I'm quite a strong believer in the life that Jesus led, I don't believe in the myth that he rose from the dead to save us from our sins. I believe a different, truer history altogether, which takes away the celebration of Easter for me. So as today, as I ponder this as a 71-year-old woman whose world gets smaller and is contracting in this last chapter of my life, who has to give up so many things already, slowly as I age, am I willing to give up this too? And the answer is no. No, I'm not willing to give up the celebrations of the holidays. I will not celebrate the things that happened. I will be conscious and aware of that and hold that in my heart. Hold space for that and honor that. But I will choose to put a different meaning on the holiday so that I can experience the joy and celebration with my family that I desperately need in order to continue to exist in the third dimension. We need celebrations. We need joy. We can't just walk through the grief about the horror that is everything that is our history, the history of humanity. Looking forward, holding the vision of what we are to become, holding hope for the essential goodness in people is what I've based my life on. It's how I've always lived, so I'm going to apply that to the holiday. I know the true origin of Thanksgiving Day, but what I'm going to choose to look at it as today and to celebrate it as. In the privacy of my home this morning, I will hold the the grief and honor the indigenous people that suffered so greatly in this original holiday. And then as I go about my day, I will see this not as Thanksgiving, but as a harvest feast, a gathering together of family and friends to celebrate a bountiful harvest after working hard in gardening all through the spring and summer. I can get behind that, gathering together for a feast to celebrate a good harvest and to give thanks for all that the Creator's given us throughout the year. I can get behind that and still enjoy my holiday while knowing the difference and holding in my heart, honoring and the grief held for how it was originally created. It's the same with Christmas. At first when I first deconstructed my religious beliefs and switched over to a more spiritual way of looking at the world, I struggled with the celebration of Christmas. It's all about the birth of Christ or whatever. Well, that's not even true. My understanding is that Christ was born in the summer, in July. This is just an old pagan celebration that has slowly morphed and changed. But I enjoy the Christmas season greatly because of the change that used to anyways, take over people. People that could be gruff and busy and have no time for things all year long used to always at least slow down a bit, be a bit more jovial, a little more generous of heart and spirit all through the Christmas season. So it is the spirit of that and the giving of gifts to show your affection for people and the decorating of a beautiful tree with lights. And I am not pretending that the holidays are exactly what we were taught all the years that I was growing up. I'm aware of the difference, but I'm choosing to reframe them the way I choose to reframe so many things in my life, to put a perspective on things that allows me to keep moving forward. There's no difference in doing this than there is in taking a negative interaction that you have with another person and trying to reframe it in terms of, well, perhaps they just had a really bad day, or they're going through something that we don't fully know about or understand, so we will give them a little more grace. It's that kind of a perspective. How can I choose to rewrite the story, to enjoy celebrations and feasts and holidays with families and friends, and still be awake to the deceptions behind the creation of them, the true history. It's kind of like how we have to walk through this life right now. I am wide awake and aware of what's taking place in our country and the world. I'll do everything in my power I can to create a different future and to take my stand against this. But I will not allow it to rob me of my joy, because finding my joy, finding gratitude, celebrating life, holding that frequency is exactly what it's going to take all of us doing in order to turn it around. So if you've had the same kind of struggle with this holiday and some other holidays that I have, Give yourself permission to reframe things. To all of the Indigenous people out there in this audience, my deep sorrow and regret for what your ancestors endured at the hands of mine. I hope you'll understand what I'm saying today is not an ignoring of that. But if I were to be militant about it, there would not be a holiday left throughout the year that I could gather together with friends and share in food and camaraderie with any sort of peace of mind. And life in this third dimension on Earth is tough enough without giving up our celebrations, our moments of respite in between the events that happen daily. So, have a wonderful harvest feast with family and friends today. And in your heart, hold deep compassion and send love to all of the people that our ancestors handled so badly so long ago. Much love to all of you.